Okay, I think we're live. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. For those new here, my name's Nikki and I vlog here on YouTube about writing, editing, reading and all the other things I love. And it's the latter we're here for because it's time to wrap up things I've been watching during September. I know we're a little bit early, we've still got 3 days to go. I was originally going to do this stream a tiny bit later in the week, but the way things have worked out, things haven't quite gone to plan. I had a bit of unexpected editing work to do this morning, and I actually am going for my first vaccination jab this week too. And I was just a bit concerned that if I left it until later in the week, if I have a bad reaction to the vaccine at all and I don't feel 100%, then it's going to be a pain trying to do the stream. So I thought I would do it a bit earlier. We're really behind on vaccinations here in Australia. It seems to be taking forever compared to the rest of the world. And finally, I've managed to book it in. So hopefully it all will go well and I won't have a too bad reaction. But just in case, I thought I'd get this stream done early. So I've got a few things to share with you this month. First of all, I'll start with DVDs I've bought. So I got Black Widow on DVD. Now, for any of you who know me, you know I'm a huge Marvel and MCU fan. And normally I would have rushed to see this the week it opened in the cinema, but I've just gotten out of the habit of going to the cinema since COVID. And it's not from any fear of going to the cinema, it's just I really can't be bothered going out anymore. I've gotten so used to just being able to stay indoors all the time. And it just feels like such an effort and a hassle, especially when the cost of cinema tickets has really gone up a lot. I used to be able to get a really good deal. If I went during the daytime, I could get a ticket for about $7. And now the cheapest I can get a ticket is 15. And when you start to factor in travel and drinks and things like that, it actually doesn't cost me anymore just to wait and buy the DVD. Apart from, oh, it's not the experience, obviously. And I'm not saying I'll never go to the cinema again, but there's just a few factors that mean I haven't really been to see anything in the cinema. So finally, I got to watch Black Widow. Overall, I liked it. Look, it's a solid movie. MCU's never put out a bad movie so far. It's not my favourite MCU film, and I think part of that is I kind of love all the special effects, all the superhero kind of stuff, and because Black Widow doesn't have superpowers per se, she's just a world-class assassin. Um, her fight scenes were great, but it's not got that element of sort of fantasy and excitement that some of the others do. So it was a good film. I thought I can't remember the actor's name. No, it's gone from my mind. Whoever was playing Alexei, the father figure. I thought he had most of the best lines. He had some really funny moments that I enjoyed. And overall, as I said, a solid film. And if you're an MCU fan, then you'll enjoy it. But it's not going to make my top 5 MCU films or anything like that. So we've got Shang-Chi in the cinema at the moment, but I probably, let's be realistic, I probably won't end up going. I'll probably be buying the DVD of that soon, but the DVDs seem to be coming out quite quickly these days, so hopefully I can watch it shortly. So moving on to YouTube. So what I've watched here on YouTube, there's a series of live streams going on at the moment from South Korea. And they're doing, the last Friday of every month, they're doing a live stream of a theatrical production, plays or musicals from Korea. So you have to watch it within a 4-hour slot. The one, I missed the July one, which was a real shame because it was a Sherlock Holmes musical, which sounded like it was going to be really great. But unfortunately, I didn't discover this series was happening until August, so I missed that one. And the August one was a sort of modern take on King Lear, which I had planned to watch at first, but then just circumstances meant I couldn't do it at the time it was showing. So this is the first one I've watched, and it was called The Legendary Little Basketball Team. It's a musical, a kind of coming of age story. When it first started, I thought it was just going to be a sort of silly, light-hearted thing. But actually, by the end, I was just crying my eyes out. It took a sort of emotional and quite deep turn halfway through. Look, the songs were not so memorable. I sat humming them. It's not something I'll think, oh my God, I wish I could see that musical again. But I'm really glad I watched it. It was a fun performance, went in a different direction than I expected, as I said. And it was an engaging musical on many levels. And they incorporate a basketball court into the stage. So there was plenty of basketball action going on as well. So I'm definitely glad I watched it, and I'm interested to see what they're going to do as their October one. There's going to be two more, one in October, one in November. So if you want to check them out, if you just Google Welcome to K Stage, then you should find the website and the YouTube page. So on to Netflix. For everything else I watched was on Netflix this month. Starting off some Japanese films. So I watched one called Mother. This was a really interesting drama. We have a single mother who's raising a boy and a girl, and she has a very tight grip on them. But she's also someone who just likes spending money, but doesn't like to work. She's constantly moving from place to place and from guy to guy and dragging the kids with her, so they don't really get a proper education or anything. And as the boy grows up, he meets a social worker who's trying to help him, and he wants to start going to school and living a normal life, but his mother doesn't want to let go. And eventually, her obsession with keeping him under her thumb will lead to a sort of disastrous conclusion. So I don't want to say too much more and spoiler it, but this was a really, really good drama, some great acting. And if that sounds like your sort of thing, check it out. So another drama I watched, another Japanese one, was Blue Painful Fragile. And this is a movie that is about a boy who's a loner at school, and eventually he gets drawn into the sphere of this exuberant girl who's all about social change and saving the world. And together they set up a school club. However, over the years, he starts to feel left out as the club grows, and he feels the club's gone in a different direction than it was intended. So he makes the decision after he's long since left the club that he's going to do everything in his power to bring the club down. Again, I can't say too much more without spoiling it, but this was a really good piece. There were a few twists along the way that took you by surprise, and I think it had a really interesting message as well by the end of it. So definitely another one to check out. And again, another one I would recommend is 37 Seconds. This is a very new one on Netflix, a Netflix original film. And the premise of this one is there's a young disabled woman living in Japan, and she works as a manga artist. However, although she is the principal artist, her able-bodied associate is the one who stands in the spotlight, takes all the credits, claims that she does all the drawing herself, and doesn't even have an assistant, even though it's this other young girl who's doing the bulk of the work. And she's trying to get her own manga work out there, but although the editor says he likes it, he thinks it's too close to her associate's style, even though that's her style. She also has a mother who cares about her and looks after her, but is a little bit controlling, doesn't think she can look after herself. And then one day she finds some new friends in a very unexpected place, is all I'll say. I don't want to spoiler it again. And they help her come into her own in a way, like realize that she has a lot of power, that she can, take a step forward on her own and live her life for herself. So I thought this was, again, a very poignant film, well acted. It's interesting. When it started, I thought it was going to go in a very different direction than it ended up going, but I think it worked really well. And it was a nice commentary on treating people with a disability the same way you would treat an able-bodied person. So definitely I recommend that. And the final standalone piece I watched was Takizawa Kabuki Zero. So this is a kind of modern take on traditional Japanese theatre, if you like. It was a bit more modern, in fact, than I had anticipated at the start. And it's performed by what I believe is a Japanese J-pop idol group of 9 attractive young men. So if that's the sort of thing that would encourage you to watch it as well, there's that hook. So it starts off, it's not so much a linear story, it's more sort of set pieces of dance and singing. However, towards the end, there is a sort of storyline acted out partly in a film style and partly on stage. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I was able to sit there doing my crochet while I watched, looking up and down. The only thing that bugged me was the songs were not subtitled. Now, I'm learning Japanese, and actually I found that quite a useful exercise because I could work out how much I could understand. And generally, I couldn't understand everything, but I could get the gist of it enough to know what the song was about. However, I thought it was a bit of a letdown for people that don't know any Japanese that they only subtitled the speaking, and a lot of it is singing. So it would be nice for viewers to be able to see what the songs were about. So I don't know why they made the decision not to subtitle the lyrics, but there you go. So just something to bear in mind if you're going to watch the songs, you'll have to just listen to the songs without knowing what's going on, and you'll only get the dialogue subtitled. So moving on, I watched 3 TV series to finish up today's vlog. So first of all, in English, I watched season 6 of Lucifer. Now, you'll know from my season 5 review that I kind of felt that Lucifer had its day. You know, the first 2 seasons, I think, were the pinnacle. Season 3 was a bit, yeah. Season 4 picked up again, but season 5 left me a bit underwhelmed. Season 6, overall, I enjoyed it. I think they ended it on a nice note. There were a few fun episodes, but I do feel that it was the time to end it, and I'm glad that they're not going to try and drag it on any longer. So if you're already a Lucifer fan, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. But as I said, for me, the pinnacle of Lucifer really was those first 2 seasons. And then we're moving on to, as you might expect, some Korean drama for the remaining 4. So first off, I watched Korean Odyssey. Now, this is a fantasy piece that's very loosely based on a Chinese classic novel, which in English is usually translated as either Journey to the West or The Monkey King. And it's very, very loosely based. So our main character is a sort of monkey god who's been banished from the heavens. And when he meets our female lead, who is a girl who can see spirits and gods and other creatures, he uses her to escape from his temporary prison and then reneges on their deal. But then years later, they end up meeting again. I don't want to spoil the story too much by saying too much more, but this is a kind of fun fantasy adventure series, essentially. So if that sounds like your sort of thing, there's plenty of humour, but a bit of emotion too along the way, then do check it out. Moving to contemporary and just drama, essentially, for the remaining ones, no fantasy. First of all, I watched Lawless Lawyer. This is about a young man who, after his mother is killed in front of him, he is raised by his gangster uncle. And initially he wants to be a gangster, but the uncle has other plans for him, and he ends up studying law. And at first he's a lawyer for the gang, but then he decides it's time to go and get revenge for his mother's murder. So he goes back to his hometown, where he ends up working with a young TV journalist to try and get to the bottom of what happened to both their mothers and to bring the bad guys down. So it's that kind of crime drama vibe. There's plenty of evil figures along the way. Overall, I thought the plot was good. The pacing was good. Some nice performances. Lee Jung-gi looks really like super slim in this one. Like his face is really gaunt compared to some other things I've seen him in. So I don't know why I mentioned that, but it just seemed worth mentioning. And yeah, it was an enjoyable piece. Perhaps not one of my absolute favourites, but definitely really watchable and kept me guessing and kept me sort of interested in how it was all going to work out in the end for them. Next up, I watched a sort of rom-com / drama called Cheese in the Trap. And this one is not something I would have naturally gravitated towards, but I saw it was leaving Netflix soon, and it is one that gets mentioned quite a lot as one of the sort of key K-dramas of sort of the last 10 years. And it was an interesting piece in the end. It wasn't quite the standard rom-com I'd expected it to be. It had a bit of a sort of darker twist here and there. And I thought, again, the performances were good. It was nicely paced and plenty of fun moments. The ending, in some ways, I kind of wanted a bit more from the ending, but at the same time, it was hopeful enough that it will please anyone who wanted to see their main couple get together kind of thing. So again, I won't say too much more. In this one, Park Hae-jin is playing a kind of tsundere kind of character. He's, you know, a little bit blows hot and cold. And that's what kind of kept me interested throughout, trying to get to the bottom of what sort of person he was really. So if that sounds intriguing, do check out Cheese in the Trap. And the last one I watched actually also stars Park Hae-ji. And in this one, Park Hae-jin plays a guy who's in prison as a serial killer. And his character is clinically a psychopath, and he's been put away for multiple murders. So he joins another character who's a hitman and another who's a gangster. And all three of them are taken out of prison by this suspended but now recalled detective, because they decide they want to use the guys to hunt down other offenders. So the show's called Bad Guys. I don't know if I mentioned the title, sorry, as I launched into it. And this one was also leaving Netflix, and it sounded interesting, which is why I decided to quickly watch it this month. And it was really good. And there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, backstory going on with these three characters that we get to know during the course of the story. In particular, Park Hae-jin's character, Lee Jong-moon, who turns out is not quite what he seems at the start. And again, it was a really good plot, nicely paced, and if you're into that kind of crime thriller element, then it's definitely worth watching. Though, as I said, it is leaving Netflix shortly, so you have to binge it really quick if you're going to watch it, unless you get hold of it somewhere else. So that brings me to the end of this month's TV and film watching. So I'll be back again at the end of October with another wrap up. So I hope you'll join me then. I will make an announcement, and I'll mention this in my book one as well in a minute, but I am considering stopping these at the end of this year. Look, I put a lot of time into filming them and preparing for them, and generally I get 0 watches, or maybe like under 5, and it's a lot of effort if no one is actually interested in watching them. So I'm going to do them till the end of the year, but unless I get a huge viewer pickup in that time, I am going to stop them and not continue them in 2022. What I might do instead is, I already put book reviews up on Instagram and my blog and everywhere, and I might perhaps just do the same for my TV reviews and share them either on my blog and Instagram, or else just on Instagram. So I'll still share the information somewhere, but I might not do it as these vlogs, since they're not really, oops, sorry, I'm bashing my keyboard as I talk, they're not really that popular. So I will be back in a short while, once I've got everything set up, to do my book wrap up for the month. And I hope you'll join me again next month for another of these, and I will have some other content for you, of course, during October as well. Bye for now, everyone.